Dear Adele is a brilliant episode of Arthur. This is the first segment in the first episode of the eighth series of Arthur, and in this one, Arthur gets a pen pal, and he begins to write to a boy called Adil in Turkey, and there's this brilliant quote that I absolutely love from this episode, and it's, "You would sure have a weird impression of a place if all you knew of it came from TV and comics." And I just thought that is so true, because I think we often have misconceptions about locations that we've never been to because of the way they're portrayed in TV and film or in books sometimes. And this is the case with Arthur. He begins to ask Adele questions about whether he has a camel that sleeps in his own tent with him and whether he's eaten lamb's eyes and all of these other weird things that Arthur thinks are true because he read about them in a comic. And Adele is a bit confused about this and doesn't really know how to reply to him, and Arthur has to learn that actually what you think you know is not necessarily the truth, and you shouldn't really assume things about a place you've never been to. And he begins to learn the truth about Adele's life, and that actually it's not that different to his life in Elwood City. They have shopping centres, they live in a house with electricity. It's definitely not what he was expecting. I think that's really eye-opening for anybody, but also for younger children who may only know about, you know, I think back to those hardback, very thin books that are aimed at children, that are about other countries, and they have these really gorgeous glossy photos, but they're also very stereotypical and not an accurate representation. And that's certainly what we see here. And it's definitely I learned a few things about Turkey. I certainly learned a few things not about Turkey, which is just as important. Another thing is that Arthur worried he wouldn't be very interesting. And he didn't really want to write about his life, because why would it be interesting to Adele that he went to the mall and had pizza with Buster? But because that's different and something that's not common for Adele, cuisines and things are slightly different. That is interesting. So what you think is not interesting to you because it's your everyday actually might be interesting to somebody else, and that's certainly the case. I really enjoyed it. I think if it encourages anybody to get any kind of pen pal, I think that's a brilliant thing. He started off um with a written pen pal, and then he ended up emailing Adele. And I think that that's so much easier. I don't know if that's really much of a thing nowadays, given the increase in social media, but I had an email pen pal. I don't know if it was because of this episode, but when I was about 8 or 9 years old, I went onto a website where you could sign up to become pen pal. It was aimed at children, where you could become an email pen pal with somebody, and I got a pen pal from somebody in Edinburgh, and we emailed a little bit, and yeah, I really enjoyed that. And I think if anybody is encouraged to get a pen pal and learn about other places because of this episode, that's a pretty brilliant thing. Either way, Dear Adele is a really good episode.